Hey guys, welcome to the channel and to our series on building our first deep learning PC. Now it's been almost 15 years since I've built a PC, so let's see how this goes. Now as a business, we've been using a number of cloud solutions for our AA work, be that Google, Amazon or Paperspace. Why would we need to build our own? With those services, they're great. You get access to some incredible hardware, but it's getting a bit expensive, especially to continue running our models on some of these solutions, and it just means we're reliant on someone else's service. It's also to let you guys see how to build one of these things, so to tell you us using it to make some pretty cool use cases, and it's a bit of a nice project to have this. As I said, it's been 15 years since I last built a PC. I want to make sure I do it right, so I'll be following JayzTwoCents advice and doing a test fit first to make sure everything is working properly before we start the proper build. So now, because of the ridiculous chip shortage, scalpers, miners, and just the general mess of the supply chain, all of these parts have just been sat here gathering dust, all while we wait for these to arrive. Now, these were supposed to be the SG model, but the guys over at Overclockers were amazing and they kindly upgraded us to the Hall of Fame versions free of charge, as the back orders of the SG had just been waiting for so long. So they haven't sponsored this video. They are just some awesome people. My only gripe with it is my whole aesthetic is black, and yeah, they're white. So the whole black RGB aesthetic is it's a bit ruined. But anyway, let's have a look through the rest of the gear. So first, we have our motherboard. It is the Asus ROG Crosshair 8 formula. Now yes, it's a bit of overkill, especially with the water blocks on the VRMs, but they will come in very handy in the future. So do subscribe and hit that bell notification so that you can see us do a complete custom loop with all of this. So that's with CPU, graphics cards. Other than that, it's got pretty much everything we need. Plenty of SATA ports. It's got two M.2 drives for high-speed drives that let us process the data there at a higher rate. It's got Wi-Fi 6. We really need to use that, but we aren't. We're going to be using the 5 gig Ethernet port. We'll be using that route alongside something else we'll build later on, which is to build our server-based NAS to store all of our content on and any other data we need to store. There are plenty of USB headers on the I/O. I think there's 8 USB 3.2 Gen 2 ports, which with my current setup I'm super happy with. I mean, I've got an 8 block thing there that is just run out of space already. So we're completely out of USB ports. Right, so let's put this aside, and now let's take a look at the CPU. As you can tell from this motherboard, we haven't gone Threadripper. Now it probably would have been a better option for us, but we had to cut costs somewhere, and our server-based solution will be using EPYC. So bearing that in mind, the Ryzen 9 5950X gives us plenty of cores to work with, but also gives us that raw speed for gaming and streaming. Surprisingly, this wasn't gold dust, as we didn't have to wait any time to get hold of this. And to go with our Ryzen processor, we want to make sure we've got the high-speed RAM, so we have a quad set of 32 gigs DDR4 3600 Corsair Vengeance Pro RAM. That gives us the speeds we need and helps max out what the motherboard can actually take, with a total of 128 gigs. And obviously, don't forget that RGB goodness. For our storage solution, we have a pair of 2TB Seagate FireCuda 520 M.2 NVMe drives. These are PCIe Gen 4, so will give us the high-speed storage solution we need for processing our models. And don't forget the loading times. I was going to run those in RAID 0, but I think 2 separate drives is fine for our solution. But again, that might change as we move along. Now we're going to have a substantial amount of data with some of these models, so we want another storage solution just for storage. And so for that, we've got two 12TB Seagate Iron Wolf drives, which gives us plenty of storage, and to then move to the NVMEs when we need to run our models. We'll also be using the machine to do all of our video editing. So while we don't have the server-based storage solution, we'll be using these drives to store all of our projects. And to power all of this and the two 3090s, we have our 2000 watt, yes, 2000 watt, fully modular, Super Flower Platinum Edition power supply, which is 80 plus platinum. So we know it's definitely capable of powering all of this goodness. We were originally going to go for the 1600 watt Corsair AXI power supply, but any power supply over 1000 watts, when we were looking for all of these parts, were just gold dust. Just like the GPUs, when we were sourcing the parts. And actually, that was the only item I had to get which was slightly over MSRP. If MSRP is even a thing these days with all this mentalness. And then finally we have our cooling solution. Now, as I said, we'll be doing a custom water loop later, but for now we'll be using the Arctic Liquid Freezer 2 360ml AIO. And looking at the reviews by Gamers Nexus, it's probably one of the best coolers out there. Now he only did the tests on the 280ml variant, but for this case we've chosen the 360ml as it just fits better. Alongside the AIO we have the fans, which I just had to go with the Lian Li Uni fans. I mean, just look at them. They look great, and compared to the Corsair ones, they are just so much tidier to install. Right, so now that we've looked at all the parts, how about we put it all together so we can sort out this test fit. We can put aside the AIO, as we'll be using the stock cooler for the test. So let's start off with our processor. And do the click. Right, so now let us do the RAM. We've got our 4 sticks, 32 gigs each. Make sure these are down. These ones you can't do, never mind that. Now this is where you find that I have a bit of trouble after not doing this for so long in getting these actually into sockets. Go, and we have our RAM seated. So let's grab our CPU cooler. So we're just using the stock cooler for now for this test fit. And actually, thank you to Jono for actually sending us this, because I didn't have one. So do check out his Twitch stream. He is really good at helping people with their confidence and everything. You know, he's a good guy. So do, I'll put his link in the description below, but do follow him. Sorry guys, so I was being a dum-dum. Didn't realise that everything goes wrong when you're trying to do something. There we go. Right, let's get on with the M.2 drives. There we go. Right. We don't need these, they can go for now. Let's get the power supply over here. So I'm going to take this up here. And we have our cables. Right, let's get this beast out of here. Let's get this into, ooh. Is that gonna fit? That is so tight. If you can, let me show you this. Look how tight that is. And then I'm supposed to be getting a second one into these slots. So as soon as we can water cool this, the better. Hey guys, so welcome back. We have finished our test build, got everything together, got our stock cooler on there, got the RAM installed, got our NVMe drives installed, and this beast of a graphics card installed. There's not a lot of space to work with. I mean, I'm supposed to be having another graphics card in here with the NVLink. However, I'm not sure if the cooler for this is going to allow me, so I might have to wait till our water cooling build to actually do that. So do hit that subscribe button so that you can actually see that when we release it. But for now, let's make sure it posts. Switch on the power supply. And thankfully this motherboard has a start button, so I don't have to do any funny fiddling with the jumping pins or anything. So let's have a go. Okay, we have fans, we have some codes going on here, just letting me know what's going on. We seem to be going well. Oh, we got VGA codes. Okay, right, let's have a look. There we go. Okay, we have picked up our Ryzen 9 5950X, and oh, it's moved on. So yeah, Ryzen 9 5950X has picked up our RAM, which is all of 128 gigs, and it's picked up our two SSDs. So I would say that's a success. We're in the BIOS setup, but I'm not going to do any of that right now. I am going to shut this down, take off the stock cooler, and we will see you in the next one when we do our complete build. So thank you guys, and I'll see you in the next one.